that money that Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner was an automatic yes vote for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. But the liberal ACLU is betting its money that Gardner can be convinced to vote no on Kavanaugh. Gardner's the target of an ACLU ad campaign on our air that's only airing in 3 other states. So they think that Gardner is persuadable on this. Our Marshall Zellinger examines the ads and tells us why.
We've seen this before, denials from powerful men.
This ad, paid for by the ACLU, ends with a call out to Republican Senator Cory Gardner to oppose the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. The ad starts by flashing the images of Matt Lauer and Charlie Rose, 2 journalists who lost their jobs over claims of sexual misconduct, and Harvey Weinstein, the Hollywood producer charged with sexual assault. The ad then uses President Clinton's original denial of a sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky and an interview with Bill Cosby, originally responding to sexual assault allegations against him.
I categorically...
It also uses Kavanaugh's own denial last week in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, all to send a message to senators in the 4 states where this ad runs with different endings.
Senator Gardner opposed the confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh. Senators Murkowski and Sullivan, Senator Fisher, Senators Capito and Manchin opposed the confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh.
The ACLU paid $1 million to run this ad in Colorado, Alaska, Nebraska, and West Virginia. Just the 4th time in 98 years that the ACLU has taken a position on a Supreme Court nominee after the ACLU's board of directors voted to do so. The ACLU does not oppose Judge Kavanaugh based on predictions about how he would vote as a justice, writes the ACLU president. We oppose him in light of the credible allegations of sexual assault against him. In an editorial posted today on the Denver Post website, ACLU of Colorado's executive director explains why Gardner is targeted in the ad. In one of the most consequential votes he will ever cast, will Gardner show independence or go along with a high-pressure push to confirm a deeply problematic and partisan nominee who is the subject of multiple credible claims of sexual assault? I reached out to Senator Gardner's office to find out his take on being called out specifically by the ACLU, and his spokesman told me he has nothing to add as they don't comment on outside political ads. Kyle?
I had never heard that one before. Don't comment on outside political ads.
We're baby steps because we got a response right away. We didn't have to wait 3 days for that, so we'll get
You're right. Little steps, little steps. All right, thank you, Marshall. I got to admit, it's been fun watching people flip out over this presidential emergency alert thing today. Listen, I get it. Some of you do not like the current president. Some of you didn't like the last president, who was the guy who enacted the law to develop the nationwide alert. Maybe we could all just agree that getting emergency messages out to the public is beyond partisanship. Some won't get that message. Some didn't get the text message today. So we did a very unscientific test of the test. We collected 10 phones, 5 iPhones, 5 Androids, and we tested out 5 different scenarios. Phones on, phones off, phones on airplane mode, phones with alerts disabled, and phones in the middle of a call. The phones turned off and the phones in airplane mode did not get the alert. That was expected. The iPhone did get it once airplane mode was turned off. For some reason, the Android with normal settings did not get the alert either. FEMA has a poll on Twitter right now, so you can let them know if you got the alert. So we told you how state emergency managers tested Colorado's system last month. We checked back today, and they said they don't have a final analysis on how well it all worked. But more than anything, they're just begging people, don't deactivate your emergency alerts. Maybe you think that you're opting out of the Trump alert. You can't. If you turn it off, you're just going to be turning off the state alerts. Denver Zoo's apologizing for giving us some bad info that we passed along here to you last night. The zoo now says that Denver police never deemed the threat credible. The idea that somebody was going to crash a plane into the zoo yesterday. The zoo is now saying it was zoo staff who made the decision that the threat was credible and then evacuated visitors and staff. We also know that the threat came into the main phone line, just like right to the main number. The zoo's offering refunds to the people whose visits were cut short, and at last check, investigators still don't have a suspect in the case. For years, our 9 Wants to Know team has documented the vulnerability of helicopter fuel systems used here and everywhere. Today, Congress finally moved to close a loophole that was identified during our Fueling the Fire series. The unforgettable example of this problem played out in Colorado in front of a surveillance camera at the Summit Medical Center in Frisco back in 2015, the day that a Flight for Life helicopter caught fire shortly after it crashed into a parking lot. A flight nurse inside survived the crash only to suffer burns on more than 90% of his body. Today, Congress passed a law that will soon force helicopter manufacturers to put crash-resistant fuel systems into every new helicopter.
It's not a happy moment because this should have happened a long time ago. This is to try to avert tragedy. But on the other hand, you know, the persistence and the perseverance is paying off.
Two Colorado Democrats, Representative Ed Perlmutter, who you heard from there, and Representative Jared Polis, sponsored the legislation to make this happen a couple years ago. Tonight at 10, we will hear from the flight nurse himself, Dave Repsher, about what this law means, assuming the president signs it, which is expected to happen. Denver Public Schools has an interim superintendent because Tom Boasberg's headed out the door 2 weeks from Friday. Dr. Ron Cabrera will be in charge until a permanent superintendent is announced. Ron's been a teacher, a principal, and a superintendent. Dr. Cabrera's worked at Boulder High School, Commerce City, Westminster, Loveland. He is not in the running for the permanent job. He's just short-timer. He'll make $20,000 a month through January. That's about the same salary that Superintendent Boasberg makes. Finalists for the superintendent job will be announced by the school board in late November. New superintendent they want to have picked by December 10th. Kayvon Kalabari, the business owner who was raising a decent amount of money in his long shot race against Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, is leaving the race. He sent out an announcement today saying that he's leaving for personal reasons. Said he's removing himself from the process, quote, to focus on his family and personal health and wellness. We reached out to his campaign, and his spokesperson would only say that he did some soul searching over the weekend and decided that this was best. A state audit says the Colorado lottery is not doing enough to make sure that repeat winners aren't cheating. The audit says that the lottery did not investigate a person who won $600 or more 47 times over 3 years. And they didn't investigate the person who won the top Cash 5 prize a dozen times in the same drawing. The Colorado Lottery has investigated repeat winners in the past. As much as they like to talk about luck to convince you to play, if somebody's winning the lottery a lot, it's usually because they are spending a whole lot of money on lottery tickets. 9 years ago, I met a Polish immigrant named Tadeusz at his very small house in Fort Lupton. He'd been investigated after he won $1,000 or more 21 times. Luckiest man in Colorado, Tadeusz. He tapped his forehead that day. He told me, I have a system. So we went inside his house, and his system was pretty clear. There were stacks and stacks of tickets, thousands of them. They were sticking out of his kitchen cabinets. They were piled on every table and every counter. Tadeusz could not or would not tell me if he had ended up money ahead on playing the lottery. I know that he spent his days writing out number combinations, thousands of ticket combinations that he would write out by hand. Today I checked the lottery's database to see if Tadeusz was still winning. He hasn't won in years. The family that bought that tiny house in Fort Lupton that once was piled high with lottery tickets told me that Tadeusz, the luckiest man in Colorado, had moved back to Poland. The Colorado Secretary of State's race is unusually sharp this year as Democratic challenger Jena Griswold takes on the Republican incumbent Wayne Williams. Here on Next, you heard Williams challenge Griswold's ability to do the job overseeing Colorado's elections and business registration. She cited her experience running an office for Governor Hickenlooper, in which she was the only employee. We return to our conversation with the candidates today as I asked Griswold about the tone of the race.
Oh, well, I just think it's a shame seeing personal attacks. Why I'm running is about policy. It's about leadership and the vision of the future. Number one, I think I've demonstrated I am up for the job. I'm a first-time candidate from a working-class background in rural Colorado, and this campaign has so much momentum. We outperformed a sitting Secretary of State by 96,000 votes in the primary. I hope to do it again if I can earn the support of Coloradans in the general. But I would just say the reason I'm running is not to attack Wayne on personal issues. It's to expand access to voting rights. It's to expand automatic voter registration, fix our statewide voter registration system so folks aren't standing in line for 2 to 3 hours on election day. I want to stop secret political spending in Colorado races and enforce campaign finance laws. You would need the legislature to change the campaign finance laws, right? To change campaign finance laws, but not to audit campaign finance filings, which generally is not being done. And in the name of making sure that that there's not corruption, not foreign money, not corporate money in our elections, that's something that the Secretary of State should be doing, and I plan to do. And then lastly, I think there's a lot of work still left to be done in the office to provide tools to small business owners and entrepreneurs. That's why I'm running.
Griswold has been critical of Secretary of State Williams for doing outside work for pay while he's Secretary of State. I asked him about that. Your opponent's been critical of the fact that you are also doing some outside work while you serve as Secretary of State. Who else are you working for?
You know, I work 50 to 60 hours a week as Secretary of State, and it is true that mostly in the evenings. I think the filing she asked me about I did at 9:57 p.m. That I perform work for other individuals. I never do anything that is election law. I never do anything for any client that has any business in front of the Secretary of State's office.
Why won't you tell us who you work for?
Well, as you may know, there are ethical requirements to prohibit lawyers from disclosing who their clients are. So that would be the first reason, is it would be unethical. That to me is a pretty critical one. The other part is I never do anything that has anything to do with my office.
The first half of our series on this race primarily focused on Williams' pitch to voters. You can see that, and you can see our full interviews with both candidates on the next YouTube channel.
They share a bond as brothers who are unified in facing the condition they share. They're defiantly getting the most out of life together.
Everybody has that family road trip you always talk about, so we had to do that.
And as the Rockies meet the Brewers in the postseason, we remember they go way back. That's next.
It's almost like a religion of thought.
Leave shadows on the clouds.
Look to the heavens, lines in the sky that captivate conspiracy theorists. Chemtrails, followers convinced something evil and secret is going on.
I can hear you now. Why are we wasting time on this? Social media has become fertilizer for this conspiracy. Recent surveys indicate 1 in 5 Americans believe in this theory.
So I could see a line in the sky.
Yes,
right
2 of them.
right
yeah. They do tend to put them in front of the sun, which makes sense if they're trying to block sunlight.
What do you think is going on up there?
Well, what they say is that this is sort of a desperate measure to counteract global warming.
Zadnik is quick to say he doesn't trust the government. Can you blame the guy? After all, our government doesn't really have the greatest track record when it comes to telling the truth. Agent Orange, the Tuskegee syphilis study, the human plutonium injection experiments. I can go on and on. That's the government. But what about science?
What is that white line in the sky behind a plane?
Well, the white line behind a jet is a natural process that goes on with the relationship between the aerodynamics of the aircraft in the atmosphere.
They won't even say that word. Scientifically, they're called condensation trails. Contrails for short.
So what you're really doing is you're sort of artificially generating a cloud.
So what we see up there is not the government intentionally putting chemicals into the sky for geoengineering.
No.
There's no accepted scientific evidence whatsoever that proves a covert program is real. Based on our highly credible experts and scientific approach to chemtrails, we can verify the chemtrail conspiracy is false.
I know people don't always believe this, but I'm allowed to speak my mind on this show, and I'm allowed to showcase your thoughtful perspectives, even if the bosses don't agree with them. That really does happen here. That's the strength of Next. It's important to hear things that we disagree with because, lo and behold, we might change our minds. We also want Next to be a reflection of you watching at home. You're smart, funny, and you're unapologetically honest, even when it gets you in trouble. And that's what we hope that the show is as well.
So many good stories in this state. People doing amazing things during very, very difficult times. This state is filled with those stories of overcoming adversity.
Hi there, welcome back. We had a beautiful start to this day today. As a matter of fact, we're starting to track some scattered showers around the area now. And on our Weather 9 computer, we had that beautiful sunrise from this morning, which has in fact really just sort of brought so much color out around the area. And the showers that we're tracking here on the computer are coming in with a cool front from the north, and it will be dropping in south tonight. Our high today at 86 degrees, way above the average of 72. Tonight, the winds will increase. Scattered showers will move in. They'll linger through the morning tomorrow. And while it doesn't look like much on the radar, we actually have a big cool down tomorrow. Temperatures tomorrow will be in the mid-60s. And with that front coming in, we'll continue to monitor the potential for a little bit of light snow way up high. In the metro area, clouds increasing tonight, a little bit of rain during the early evening time period, and then tomorrow that rain really begins to move through as we head into the late day. And so, checking out conditions up in the high country, still time to get up there and check out the changing leaves. Beautiful color. Don Lewis, Kebler Pass, showing us wonderful shots there, and up in Marshall Pass, it's so pretty there. We do expect a cooling trend heading into the weekend with a chance for showers almost each and every afternoon.
Kathy, thanks. Cramming a family of 5 into a van and traveling across America, that's the stuff of Hollywood movies, usually comedies. Our Mike Grady met a family that happily hit the road this summer and came back closer than ever.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Sometimes reminiscing about vacation is tougher than the actual trip.
Computers are supposed to make our life easier. There it is. 4,200-mile road trip.
Chicago, Canton, Ohio, Gettysburg,
Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Atlantic City, New York, and then Cleveland.
I'm Brian Horan. This is my wife, Kim, and our sons, Ryan, Aaron, and Ian.
The Horan clan hit the road in June.
Everybody has that family road trip you always talk about, so we had to do that.
On a trip like that, they were bound to have some problems.
We were in the left lane, the semi-truck was in the right lane, and we went into the turn, and the truck decided not to come out of the turn.
A few scrapes and bruises aside, everybody was okay.
We actually went to the Statue of Liberty.
They kept on going.
Pretty cool.
This family, they know how to deal with adversity.
We have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a muscle wasting disease.
They were 6, 4, and 2 when they were all diagnosed.
Usually the life expectancy is teenagers at early 20s, and we're all older than that. So
it unfortunately is. It's a killer. It's a life ender.
Brian and I decided early on that we weren't going to let the kids' challenges stop them from experiencing new things.
We didn't really think about our disease when we go out and do stuff like that. We were focusing on the sights we got to see and all the different cities we were in.
Well, we want what people who have disabilities know. You can still travel. There are places to go in this country that are accessible and you can have fun.
They'll always remember this once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Absolutely.
For Next, I'm Mike Grady.
Their hands were kind enough to share some family photos from their trip, and you can see that photo gallery on the next page of 9news.com. Next, we will meet a man known for a record-breaking home run in Colorado. Yet he's not rooting for the Rockies tomorrow.
How you doing, sweetheart?
If anyone knows,
there she goes,
the difference between work and duty,
I know you asking for it.
Gene Jiggets has known ever since he met his wife, Mary.
Mary is a keeper.
He kept her through a life of secrets. In 1951, Jiggets was assigned to an elite group of 28 men working on something they called the hydrogen bomb. And now that his work is done, it is time for his duty, assisting his 93-year-old wife
in entering into dementia,
fighting a disease that's taking her mind.
I said, one thing that I will pledge that I will never do as long as I'm able to assist. I will never put you in a home.
Because she is home.
Latina for me means family.
Being Latino to me means having pride in my heritage.
It means being part of a community where you're never alone.
Being Latina is being strong and independent.
Being Latino is really everything to me.
It's who I am.
Being Latina to me means that I can achieve whatever I want.
What Latina means to me is being bold.
It's being creative, innovative, resourceful.
Being Latina means celebrating life in a unique way.
Which one of you is horny? How did I get here? My mom was horrible and drove me to drink, which led to drugs. Remember me? But I cleaned up my act. Wish I hadn't spit in his latte. For that glamorous... You look like a slutty highlighter. Single mom life.
Why aren't you wearing pants? I was relaxing.
And now I'm back here, living with my mom.
That changes everything. You deserve a cupcake.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
Corporal O'Reilly goes by many names.
Big Daddy O'Reilly.
Big Daddy, just play the records.
I'm Walter O'Radar. No, I'm Walter O'Reilly.
But to us, he'll always be...
Radar! Radar!
They call me Radar. Only that's not my real name. They just use it like it was.
Radar, radar, radar. Here's to you, Radar. One of a kind.
Radar? That's me.
Watch Radar.
Where?
MASH, weeknights starting at 6 on MeTV.
Don't take your health for granted. Get in-depth medical information that your doctor can trust at a fraction of the price. No appointment needed. Choose from new screenings including heart health and blood type. Own your health. Find your fair at 9healthfair.org.
Did you recognize the Colorado native behind home plate last night for the Rockies wild card game? That was Chris Guccione from Salida. We met him here on Next 2 years ago when he called the final out in Game 7 of the World Series. And if you watched until the end, you saw poor Chris get nailed. Ball right to the shoulder in the 13th. When they played it back, you could hear him grimace. We reached him about 1 a.m. He said, it just stung a little. He's fine. The most Colorado thing we saw today is Kyle Freeland. Kyle stinking Freeland, that beautiful, beautiful man. Born in Denver in 1993, product of Thomas Jefferson High School in Denver. The guy who had his national coming out party last night with a stellar pitching performance. He is making Kyle great again, and he's Colorado through and through. Check out the tattoo. 303 on the one side, 5280 on the other, mountains in the middle. Kyle Freeland's dominating performance, the most Colorado thing we saw today. So the Rockies are in Milwaukee at this point for the divisional series against the Brewers. And it's as though the baseball gods wanted Colorado to come full circle on this. Because before Colorado had the Rockies, of course, Denver had the Zephyrs, AAA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. The National Baseball Museum, right across from Coors Field, actually has a lot of Zephyrs memorabilia, including a baseball that traveled farther than any home run ever hit in Denver. June 2nd, 1987. Take you back. Mile High Stadium. Joey Meyer doesn't just go deep. He goes remarkably deep. There's nobody there to see it, but official distance, 582 feet. Joey these days lives in Hawaii, and we caught up with him about the chances that anybody's ever going to hit a ball longer than that in Denver.
Probably at the time I didn't believe that I could do it, because we took batting practice every day. But it's just funny how now that the stadium is not standing no more, it's going to be hard for anybody to say they did break it.
Our Marshall Zellinger was really, really geeked out to do that interview today. Joey got called up, played 2 years for the Brewers, so he told us, sorry, got to root for them over the Rocks. Next, we'll be right back.
When your curiosity needs answers, turn to the all-new TV network, Quest. Featuring the most scientific, scary, entertaining, and thrilling programs available on television. Like Modern Marvels and Storm Chasers. Stay tuned for your next adventure on Channel 9.5, and let's explore.
Game Day Live, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on 9 News.
The Johnsons, 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200. And you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
And an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
There have been frightening things in the news lately, familiar things for many Coloradans. Check in with your family and friends. If you or someone you know needs mental health support or emotional help, it's available right this second. A real person ready to provide real problem solving. Call or text Colorado Crisis Services. Let's take care of ourselves and each other.
Justice is here. If you haven't tuned in to the Justice Network, then you're missing a program lineup dedicated to stories of true crime and investigation.
No one vanishes without a trace.
Quality series rich in suspense, mystery, and intrigue.
Put your hands above your head. Back up.
Plus, a public safety initiative to make your community safer.
Join me, John Walsh, on the all-new Justice Network.
Corporal O'Reilly goes by many names.
Big Daddy O'Reilly.
Big Daddy, just play the records.
I'm Walter O'Radar. No, I'm Walter O'Reilly.
But to us, he'll always be...
Radar! Radar!
They call me Radar. Only that's not my real name. They just use it like it was.
Radar, radar, radar. Here's to you, Radar. One of a kind.
Radar? That's me.
Watch Radar.
Where?
MASH, weeknights starting at 6 on MeTV.
The images are still burned into our memories. Yes, when the enormous T-Rex burned in spectacular fashion at the Royal Gorge Dinosaur Experience in Canyon City. Well, great news, the unburnt new one was installed today. They're having a T-Rex celebration event on Saturday. We asked if the new guy has a name because the one who burnt was named Chicken. Lots of great jokes there. No name as of yet. Hey, we're getting some feedback, and it comes from the Horan brothers that you met earlier in this program.
Get over the lawn furniture thing.
A little too obsessed with the hatred of the patio furniture pictures.
There's snow on top of it.
Guys, I couldn't shake that stupid thing if I tried. It was 5 years ago made that joke, and they're the second ones to bring it up to me today. And it's going to snow soon. Help me. See you next time. Subscribe to the next YouTube channel and I'll buy you a beer. Am I actually buying them a beer? This could be a very poor idea. We need some terms and conditions. Offer subject to terms and conditions.